There's a magical moment when the soul whispers to the heart, it's time to release what no longer serves you, and you feel, even without fully understanding, that something old needs to leave so that something new can be born. Perhaps you've experienced this feeling when looking in the mirror and noticing a sadness in your eyes you can't explain, or when feeling an emotional pain that seems larger than any event in this life could justify. It's in this moment that the wisdom of Edgar Cayce, the sleeping prophet, offers us a golden key to understanding the deepest mysteries of the human soul. Edgar Cayce, through his altered states of consciousness, revealed truths about the eternal nature of the soul that still resonate like celestial music in the hearts of those seeking healing and transformation. He taught us that we are much more than this single existence, that we are eternal travelers carrying within our essence the memories, the lessons, and also the wounds of multiple journeys. And herein lies the most powerful secret for dissolving old traumas, the understanding that everything we experience has a sacred purpose, even the deepest pain. Imagine for a moment that your soul is like an ancient garden, cultivated over many seasons, many lifetimes. Some plants have blossomed magnificently, others have left bitter roots in the soil. The traumas we carry are like these bitter roots. They weren't born in this life, but they persist, influencing what can or cannot grow in our inner garden. Cayce revealed that many of our emotional difficulties, our inexplicable fears, our mysterious resistances, are echoes of experiences lived in other incarnations, carried by the soul as lessons not yet fully learned. But here's the most transformative revelation: these old traumas are not punishments. They are opportunities. They are invitations from the soul, so that we may finally, with heightened awareness, transform pain into wisdom, fear into love, separation into union. When we understand this, something miraculous happens within us. The invisible chains that bound us to the past begin to dissolve, not through denial or forgetting, but through conscious love and forgiveness. Think of Sarah, a 40-year-old woman who since childhood felt an inexplicable fear of water. No matter how many times she tried to rationalize it, her heart raced when approaching pools, rivers, or even full bathtubs. For years she carried this limitation as a strange mark of her personality, until, during a regression session, she discovered memories of a past life where she had drowned in a shipwreck, trying to save her young daughter. The trauma wasn't from this life, but the soul carried the mark of that experience as a protective mechanism that became a prison. From Cayce's teachings, Sarah understood that this fear wasn't a flaw, but a soul memory that needed to be honored and at the same time released. She began a healing process that involved not only understanding the origin of the trauma, but also recognizing the love behind that past experience, the love of a mother who tried to save her daughter. When she managed to embrace this experience with compassion, instead of resisting it with fear, something extraordinary happened. The trauma transformed into wisdom, the fear transformed into a special ability to help other people with similar phobias. The wound became a portal to healing, not only for her but for others. This is the spiritual alchemy that Cayce taught us. When we look at our traumas through the eyes of the soul, instead of the eyes of the wounded personality, we discover that each pain carries within it a seed of transformation. We don't have to carry the weight of the past as a curse, but we can transform it into the blessing it was always meant to be. It's like discovering that the stone that made us stumble was actually a rough diamond, waiting to be polished by consciousness and love. But how does this happen practically in our lives? Cayce offered concrete and profound tools. First, he taught us about the power of prayer and meditation as ways to access the Akashic records of the soul, that cosmic library, where all the experiences of all lifetimes are archived. When we connect with this source of wisdom through inner stillness, we begin to receive insights into the origins of our emotional patterns. We don't necessarily need to see complete past lives, but we begin to understand the karmic themes that our soul has chosen to work on in this incarnation. Perhaps you've noticed that certain situations always repeat themselves in your life. Relationships that end in the same painful way, professional opportunities that slip away at the last minute, or family conflicts that seem to follow the same script generation after generation. Cayce would teach us that these repetitive patterns are like lessons that the soul has enrolled in its cosmic curriculum. They repeat not to punish us, but to give us multiple opportunities to choose a different response, a response that comes from love instead of fear, from wisdom instead of reactivity. John always fell in love with women who were emotionally unavailable. It was such a consistent pattern that his friends could already predict the outcome of his relationships. He lived this repetition as a personal curse, believing that there was something fundamentally wrong with him. But when he began to study Cayce's teachings and meditate on his love life, a profound realization emerged. He realized that on some level of his soul, he himself was afraid of true love, of true intimacy. The unavailable women were actually a mirror of his own emotional unavailability. Through inner work inspired by Cayce's teachings, John discovered that this pattern was linked to a past life where he had abandoned his family for personal ambition, causing great suffering to his wife and children. His soul carried the guilt of this choice, and unconsciously, he punished himself by choosing relationships where he would be the abandoned, not the abandoner. It was an unconscious way to balance karma, but it kept him trapped in a cycle of suffering. Healing came when he was able to forgive himself, not just in this life, but to forgive the soul that made those choices in another incarnation. He understood that that past experience, however painful, was part of the soul's learning, and that now he had the opportunity to choose true love, both to give and to receive. From this understanding, his pattern of attraction changed completely. He began to attract and be attracted to emotionally available women, capable of genuine intimacy. This is the transformative power of the spiritual principle that Cayce revealed to us. When we understand that we are eternal souls living temporary experiences, we cease to be victims of circumstances and become conscious co-creators of our destiny. Traumas cease to be wounds that define us and become experiences that refine us. It's like discovering that we are diamonds being polished by life, and that every pressure, every friction, actually makes us brighter. But perhaps you're wondering, how can I know if a trauma comes from past lives or this current life? Cayce taught us that the origin isn't the most important thing. What matters is our conscious response to it. Whether a wound from this life or past lives, the healing process follows the same sacred path: acknowledgement, acceptance, forgiveness, and transformation. It's like a river that needs to flow to stay pure. When we allow our emotions to flow through us consciously, instead of damming them up, they naturally purify and transform. And here we arrive at a crucial point on this awakening journey. If you are feeling that these words touch something deep within your soul, if you are recognizing patterns in your own life that you have never seen so clearly, then you are ready for a deeper transformation. This is not just intellectual information. It's an invitation to a journey of self-discovery that can completely change the trajectory of your life. If you want to continue exploring these mysteries of the soul, if you wish to receive more insights on how to apply these transformative teachings in your daily life, then subscribe to this channel right now and activate notifications. Because what we share here are not just videos, they are keys to doors that your soul has been waiting to open. Each week we bring new revelations, new paths to healing, new ways of understanding the deepest mysteries of human existence. Don't let this opportunity for transformation pass unnoticed. Your soul will thank you for this conscious choice to seek truth and healing. Click subscribe now, and together we will continue this sacred journey of discovery and transformation. Returning to our exploration of Cayce's teachings, there's another fascinating aspect about the dissolution of old traumas: the role of the people we meet in our lives. Cayce taught us about soulmates and soul families, groups of beings who incarnate together, life after life, to learn and grow mutually. Often the people who cause us the greatest pain are also those who offer us the greatest opportunities for spiritual growth. Consider Anna, who always had an extremely difficult relationship with her mother. From a young age, she felt that no matter what she did, she could never please her or receive the love she so desperately craved. This dynamic created deep wounds of inadequacy and rejection that influenced all her relationships. Through the study of Cayce's teachings, Anna began to understand that her relationship with her mother wasn't just a matter of this life, but possibly the result of karmic dynamics from past lives that needed to be balanced. In a session of deep meditation, Anna received insights into a past life where she had been a mother who abandoned her young daughter because she couldn't cope with the responsibilities of motherhood. The daughter from that life grew up with deep wounds of abandonment and rejection. In this current life, the roles were reversed. Anna was the daughter experiencing the feelings of rejection, while her mother, unconsciously, was expressing the hurt she carried from a previous life where she was abandoned. This revelation didn't justify her mother's behavior, but it offered Anna a completely new perspective on her family relationship. She understood that both were souls trying to heal old wounds, but doing so unconsciously, and therefore perpetuating the cycle of pain. Healing came when Anna was able to send love and forgiveness not only to her mother in this life, but to the soul she herself had been when she made the choice to abandon her daughter in a past existence. Something miraculous happened. As Anna did this inner work of forgiveness and healing, her relationship with her mother began to transform. Her mother, without consciously knowing what was happening, began to behave in a more loving and accepting way. It was as if the invisible karmic chains that bound them to this destructive pattern had been dissolved by the power of conscious love. This is one of the most beautiful aspects of Cayce's teachings. When a person does the work of inner healing, it affects the entire energy field around them. The other people involved in the karmic pattern automatically begin to respond differently, even without rationally understanding what is happening. It's as if the conscious love of one person is a stone thrown into the lake of collective consciousness, creating waves that reach all the shores. But the dissolution of old traumas doesn't happen solely through mental understanding. Cayce strongly emphasized the importance of practically applying spiritual insights to daily life. He taught that real transformation occurs when we bring expanded consciousness into our everyday actions, our daily choices, and our responses to life's challenges. Mark was a successful executive, yet he lived with constant anxiety about money, even with a comfortable financial situation. He overworked, sacrificing relationships and health for a financial security that never seemed enough. Through Cayce's teachings, he began exploring the spiritual roots of his financial anxiety. In meditation, he discovered connections to a past life where he had lost everything during a major economic crisis, leaving his family destitute. The soul carried the trauma of this experience as a visceral fear of scarcity. But Mark's healing didn't come solely from understanding this connection. Cayce taught that karma is balanced through loving service to others. Mark started volunteering at organizations that helped people facing financial hardship. As he channeled his financial expertise to assist others, something transformative happened in his psyche. The fear of scarcity began to dissolve, replaced by a deep sense of abundance that came not from how much he possessed, but from how much he could give. This is a fundamental principle of Cayce's teachings. Healing happens through service. When we transform our wounds into bridges to help others facing similar challenges, we create a sacred circle of healing that benefits not only ourselves but all of humanity. It's like discovering that our pain had a cosmic purpose to prepare us to be beacons of hope for other lost navigators in the ocean of human existence. Cayce's wisdom also teaches us about the importance of dreams as tools for healing and transformation. He believed that during sleep, our soul accesses dimensions of consciousness where it can receive healing, guidance, and insights on resolving issues from the present life and past lives. Many people report dreams where they receive emotional healing, encounter people from past lives, to resolve old conflicts, or receive clear guidance on how to handle current challenges. Laura consistently had recurring dreams where she was in an old hospital, caring for wounded soldiers during a war. The dreams were so vivid that she would wake up emotionally exhausted, as if she had actually worked all night. Initially, she tried to ignore these dreams, considering them merely products of a vivid imagination. But when she began studying Cayce, she realized these dreams could be memories of a past life as a nurse during a world war. Most interestingly, Laura, in this life, always felt compelled to help people who were suffering, but also felt an inexplicable fatigue when around much emotional pain. It was as if she carried the weight of all the suffering she had witnessed in a previous life. Through healing work specifically directed at this past life, Laura was able to honor the service she had given to the wounded soldiers, but also release the trauma of witnessing so much suffering. The result was a transformation in her ability to help others. She remained a naturally compassionate person, but now she could help without absorbing others' pain. It was as if she had learned to be a channel of healing, allowing love to flow through her without getting stuck in her personal energy. Cayce's teachings show us that each soul has a specific purpose in this incarnation, and often our old traumas are directly related to that purpose. The wounds we carry are not merely obstacles to overcome, but also indications of the areas where our soul is destined to serve and grow. It's as if each trauma is a spiritual specialization, an area where we develop depth and wisdom that allows us to help others in a unique way. Consider how many of the greatest healers, therapists, and spiritual counselors have often gone through profound traumatic experiences. It's not a coincidence, it's the soul preparing for its sacred work. The difference between those who become perpetually wounded and those who become healers lies in the conscious choice to transform personal pain into universal wisdom, individual suffering into collective compassion. Cayce also taught about the importance of gratitude in the healing process. He said that when we can find gratitude, even for the most difficult experiences, we create an energetic alchemy that automatically transmutes any residual negative energy. It's not about being grateful for the pain itself, but being grateful for the strength we developed by overcoming it, the compassion we learned by experiencing it, the wisdom we gained by transcending it. Imagine Richard, who went through an extremely painful divorce where he lost not only his marriage, but also regular access to his children and a significant portion of his material possessions. For months, he lived in bitterness and resentment, feeling like a victim of a great injustice. But as he studied Cayce's teachings, he began to realize that this experience, however painful, was offering opportunities for growth he would never have had otherwise. He was being forced to discover who he was beyond his social roles of husband and provider. He was being challenged to develop a deeper and more qualitative relationship with his children, instead of just being a constant but perhaps not fully present presence. He was being invited to question his material values and discover what truly mattered for his happiness. When Richard managed to find gratitude for these opportunities for growth, without denying the real pain he had experienced, something powerful happened in his life. Unexpected professional opportunities began to emerge. His relationship with his children, although different, became closer and more meaningful. He found a new love based on authenticity and mutual growth, instead of convenience and social expectations. This is the magic of conscious gratitude. It doesn't deny the reality of pain, but finds the hidden blessings within challenging experiences. It's like discovering that every experience, even the most difficult ones, are actually disguised gifts that our soul planned for itself. Cayce taught us that we are living in a very special time in human evolution, where many old souls are incarnating to resolve karmas accumulated over many lifetimes. This is an era of spiritual acceleration, where we have unique opportunities to heal and transcend patterns that may have accompanied us for millennia. The spiritual and therapeutic tools available today, combined with a greater openness of collective consciousness to concepts like reincarnation and energy healing, create ideal conditions for profound transformations. But this acceleration also brings unique challenges. Many people are experiencing what we could call a spiritual awakening crisis, moments where old patterns no longer work, but new ones haven't fully established themselves yet. It's like being in a process of metamorphosis, where the caterpillar can no longer return to what it was, but hasn't yet become a butterfly. These periods can be confusing and challenging, but Cayce reminds us that they are signs that the soul is ready for a significant evolutionary leap. During these periods of transition, it's especially important to maintain consistent spiritual practices. Meditation, prayer, studying sacred texts, connecting with nature, all these practices serve as spiritual anchors that help us navigate the turbulent waters of inner transformation. Cayce emphasized that regularity is more important than duration. It's better to meditate for 5 minutes every day than for an hour once a week. Healing old traumas is also intimately connected with our ability to live in the present moment. Paradoxically, to heal the past, we need to be completely present in the now. It is in the present moment that we have the power to make different choices, to respond in new ways to old patterns, to create new memories that gradually replace old limiting programming. Fernanda, changed to Fiona, always had difficulty expressing her creativity, feeling an inexplicable block whenever she tried to paint, write, or express herself artistically. Through working with Cayce's teachings, she discovered connections to a past life where she was severely punished for expressing ideas that went against the religious norms of her time. Her soul carried the trauma of this censorship and punishment, creating an unconscious fear of expressing herself creatively. Healing came through a gradual process where Fiona, in the present moment, performed small acts of creative courage. She started by journaling, then sharing poems with close friends, gradually expanding her creative comfort zone. Each act of expression in the present helped heal the wound of the past. It was as if she were rewriting her soul's story, proving that it was safe to be creative, that her expression was valued and welcome. This is a powerful principle of healing. We change the past by changing the present. Every time we choose love over fear, courage over paralysis, expression over repression, we are not only creating a better future, but also retroactively healing the wounds of the past. It's as if time were more fluid than we imagine, and our present choices could send waves of healing both forward and backward in our soul's timeline. Cayce also taught us about the importance of patience in the healing process. Traumas that were created over many lifetimes don't disappear overnight. Real healing happens in layers, like peeling an onion. We remove one layer at a time, and sometimes we discover there are more layers than we initially imagined. But each layer removed brings us closer to our true essence, to our natural state of love and wholeness. It's also important to understand that healing doesn't necessarily mean we'll never feel pain again, or that all our challenges will disappear. It means that we develop a new relationship with pain and challenges. Instead of being victims of them, we become spiritual warriors who know how to transform any experience into growth and wisdom. It's like learning to sail. We don't eliminate storms, but we develop the skills needed to navigate through them with grace and purpose. The dissolution of old traumas is also connected with our ability to forgive, not only others, but especially ourselves. Cayce taught us that we are often our harshest critics, carrying guilt and judgment about choices we made not only in this life, but in past lives. Forgiveness is the golden key that unlocks all the doors of healing. When we can forgive completely, including forgiving our soul for the imperfect choices it made throughout many incarnations, we create space for the new to emerge. True forgiveness is not a single act but an ongoing process. It's like tending a garden. We need to continually weed out the resentment and water the flowers of compassion. Each day offers new opportunities to choose forgiveness over bitterness, understanding over judgment, love over fear. As we approach the final synthesis of this exploration, it's important to recognize that everything shared here is not just intellectual concepts, but invitations to a living experience of transformation. Cayce's teachings should not only be understood but lived, applied, experienced in the daily practice of life. Each insight that resonates in your heart is a seed of transformation waiting to germinate in the fertile ground of your conscious experience. The true dissolution of old traumas happens when we stop being spectators of our own lives and become active participants in our own healing and evolution. It's when we recognize that we are both the sculptor and the sculpture, both the healer and the one who needs healing, both the teacher and the student on our spiritual journey. This is the sacred responsibility and extraordinary privilege of being a conscious soul embodied on this planet, in this time of great transformation. The spiritual principle that dissolves old traumas and opens the way for the new is, at its core, the recognition that we are eternal beings of light, temporarily wearing human suits to learn, grow, serve, and evolve. When we fully embrace this truth, when we allow it to transform not only our understanding but our lived experience of reality, we discover that we don't need to carry the weight of the past like a curse, but can transform it into the blessing it was always meant to be. Old traumas naturally dissolve in the light of expanded consciousness, like ice melting under the warmth of the spring sun. The new emerges spontaneously when we create inner space through the release of the old. This is the miracle of spiritual transformation. We don't need to force anything, we just need to allow love to do its sacred work in our lives. As you reflect on all that has been shared, feel in your heart if something has shifted during this journey. Is there perhaps a different feeling, a new openness, and understanding that wasn't present before? This is your soul recognizing truths it has always known, but that your conscious mind is only beginning to grasp. Trust this inner wisdom, nurture it with consistent spiritual practices, and allow it to guide you toward complete healing and the realization of your divine potential. May this be not only a journey of personal healing, but also of sacred service to the world, for when we heal our own wounds, we contribute to the healing of all humanity. When we dissolve our own old traumas, we make it easier for others to find their freedom as well. When we open our hearts to the new, we become portals through which heaven can touch the earth. In what area of your life do you feel that old traumas still whisper their echoes, waiting for the transformative light of awakened consciousness to finally find their healing and peace?